Chris Pine was great, but the Kirk actor Star Trek turned down would have been amazing too. A Marvel actor almost portrayed Captain James T. Kirk in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek 2009, a role that went to Chris Pine. J.J. Abrams rebooted the Star Trek franchise with an entirely new cast portraying Captain Kirk and his Starship Enterprise crew. Star Trek 2009 became a resounding success at the box office and among critics and viewers. 2 sequels followed, but the first film was enough to launch the careers of many of the actors into superstardom. In addition to Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, Carl Urban, and Simon Pegg all have successful Hollywood careers. In an interview with Josh Horowitz on the Happy Sad Confused podcast, Marvel actor Sebastian Stan revealed that he had been in the running to portray Captain Kirk in Star Trek 2009. Stan said he desperately wanted the role and that he actually got very close to it. While Stan would likely have made a solid Kirk, everything worked out for the best. A couple of years later, in 2011, Stan landed the role of Bucky Barnes in Captain America, the First Avenger, launching his career to another level in much the same way Star Trek launched Chris Pine's. Sebastian Stan would have been a great Captain Kirk for J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movies. Sebastian Stan has enjoyed a particularly strong year in 2024, with 2 buzzworthy films, A Different Man and the Donald Trump biopic, The Apprentice. Critics have praised Stan's performances in both films, proving what a high-caliber actor he has become. With his impressive list of credits, it's obvious Sebastian Stan would have made an amazing Captain Kirk. Sebastian Stan and Chris Pine have had similar career trajectories, with Stan achieving superstardom after his turn as Bucky Barnes in Captain America, the First Avenger. Sebastian Stan went on to portray Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, in 5 subsequent Marvel Studios films, not counting uncredited cameos in Ant-Man and Black Panther. He also starred alongside Anthony Mackie's Falcon in Marvel Television's The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and is set to star in the upcoming Thunderbolts Asterix. Sebastian Stan has made Bucky a fan-favorite character, and he could undoubtedly have brought that same energy to Captain Kirk. Although Bucky Barnes and Kirk are very different characters, they both have charming personalities and similar senses of humor. Why Chris Pine was still a perfect choice to replace William Shatner as Kirk, while it would have been cool to see Sebastian Stan's take on Captain Kirk, Chris Pine did an excellent job portraying the Enterprise captain. Pine managed to capture the same swagger of William Shatner's Kirk from Star Trek, the original series, without simply impersonating him. Since J.J. Abrams' Star Trek films take place in the alternate Kelvin timeline, Pine's Kirk had a different upbringing than Shatner's character. Because of this, Pine's Kirk is more reckless and angrier than Shatner's Kirk. Pine portrays this difference beautifully, while still making Kirk feel fundamentally like the same character. Chris Pine also had the right kind of chemistry with Zachary Quinto's Spock, as both actors perfectly portrayed their complex relationship from rivals to reluctant allies to friends. As such, Chris Pine's take on Kirk remains one of the highlights of Star Trek 2009 and its 2 sequels. Like Sebastian Stan, Pine has gone on to land several starring roles throughout his career, highlighting his range as an actor. Pine is familiar with superhero stories as well, as he landed the role of Steve Trevor in DC's Wonder Woman in 2017. Pine also voiced a version of Peter Parker in 2018 Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse. Chris Pine has become synonymous with the role of Captain James T. Kirk in the rebooted Star Trek film series, bringing a fresh, dynamic energy to one of science fiction's most iconic characters. When J.J. Abrams launched the reboot with Star Trek 2009, fans were curious about who could possibly fill the boots of the legendary William Shatner. Pine stepped up and delivered a performance that balanced charm, arrogance, and a sense of duty, winning over both new and longtime fans of the franchise. His take on Kirk provided a modern twist on the classic character, making him relatable to contemporary audiences while preserving the brash yet heroic qualities that defined Kirk in the original series. However, Pine wasn't the only actor considered for the role, and it's intriguing to imagine what the alternate reality of Star Trek could have been like with another leading man at the helm of the USS Enterprise. One of the actors who reportedly turned down the role of Captain Kirk was Matt Damon. In the years since Pine's successful run as Kirk, fans have speculated on what Damon might have brought to the role, and there's little doubt that he could have been just as amazing in his own way. Damon, with his extensive experience in action-packed films and his ability to portray complex, multi-dimensional characters, would have brought a different gravitas to the role of Kirk. Known for his role as Jason Bourne in the Bourne franchise, Damon excels at playing characters who are both physically capable and emotionally nuanced. He has a natural charisma that draws audiences in, similar to Pine, but his style tends to be a bit more grounded and introspective. This might have resulted in a Kirk who is a little more world-weary, a bit more self-reflective, which could have provided an interesting contrast to the bold, adventurous spirit that Pine brought to the character. One area where Damon could have truly excelled as Kirk is in the more dramatic moments of Star Trek. Pine did an excellent job of conveying Kirk's growth from a reckless young man to a mature leader, especially in the first two films, but Damon's range might have allowed him to push those emotional beats even further. Think of how Damon handled the weight of leadership and sacrifice in films like The Martian or Saving Private Ryan. These roles showcased his ability to convey deep vulnerability beneath a strong exterior, a trait that could have added more layers to Kirk's character, especially in moments where he had to face the consequences of his decisions or deal with the weight of command. Additionally, Damon's approach to action scenes would likely have been a bit different from Pine's. While Pine's Kirk was often brash and impulsive, barreling headfirst into danger, Damon's background as an action star might have lent itself to a more calculated, strategic take on the character's combat and leadership style. His portrayal of Kirk could have been one who thinks several steps ahead, calculating risks while still retaining that adventurous, risk-taking spirit that defines the character. However, it's important to acknowledge that Star Trek isn't just about action, it's about exploration, diplomacy, and the ethical dilemmas that come with boldly going where no one has gone before. Damon has shown in his career that he can handle these kinds of nuanced roles, delivering performances that are thoughtful without being overly stoic. His Kirk might have leaned more into the intellectual side of the character, taking inspiration from the Captain's philosophical discussions in the original series. Of course, there's no denying that Chris Pine was an inspired choice. Pine brought a youthful energy to the role, tapping into Kirk's cocky side, but balancing it with moments of vulnerability and growth. He perfectly embodied the swashbuckling captain of the rebooted universe, someone who was quick to act and always willing to put himself in danger for the sake of his crew. Pine's chemistry with the rest of the cast, particularly Zachary Quinto's Spock, was another key factor in making the rebooted Star Trek series successful. One of the biggest challenges any actor faces when stepping into an iconic role is making it their own while still paying homage to what came before. Pine managed to walk this line expertly, never trying to mimic William Shatner's performance, but instead bringing his own interpretation of the character. Damon would have faced the same challenge, and it's fascinating to wonder how he might have approached it. Would he have leaned more into the cerebral aspects of Kirk's character, or would he have embraced the swagger and charisma that Shatner made famous? We'll never know for sure, but it's fun to speculate. In the end, Chris Pine's performance as Captain Kirk has left an indelible mark on the franchise, and it's hard to imagine anyone else taking up the mantle in the rebooted series. But Matt Damon, had he accepted the role, would have undoubtedly